Hi there. In the last video, we talked about crafting an effective coaching agenda for your team. In this video, we're going to talk about the ownership of the coaching process, both for employees and for managers. We're going to talk about what each party, both the manager and the employee, must do and bring to a one-on-one coaching session. At the end of this video, you should be able to describe the elements that a manager and employee should bring to a coaching practice, how to talk about this, and roll out a coaching practice with your team. And lastly, explain what to do if employees don't meet this expectation. So in the previous video, we talked about the elements that go into a coaching agenda and those key elements that go into a coaching practice, into your one-on-ones, that you're meeting with everybody, that you're meeting with them consistently, that you're honoring that time once you've dedicated it to your coaching, that your coaching is based on the cadence of your business, and that you have a consistent coaching agenda that really identifies those key elements related to previous action items, KPI, performance goals, personal goals, current action items, and any support they might need from you. I think that there's a transition that you go through when you roll this out to a team. First of all, when we introduce this practice to our team, we've got to be really thoughtful and make sure they understand that the intention of this practice is to help them. A lot of times, if we haven't done anything like this, employees hear about it and they start to think it's a way for you to measure their performance and fire them. That has a lot to do with their own thinking and their own experience. So some of that you can't control, but how you position this is essential, right? I have been going through this great coaching class. I've learned how to create a coaching practice and an agenda, and I'm really excited to start really focusing on helping you on a consistent basis. And I'm going to be doing that with everybody. We really want to make sure that we're very, very clear there on how we introduce it and what the intention of it is. Not so I can document your performance and make your performance reviews easier for me. Right? That's not what we need to lead with, because that's sort of an added benefit, not a reason. Okay? So how we position it to employees is essential. Then we need to think about who does what. And like I said, I think this is a transition process. I think initially when you have this agenda and you're meeting with people, you need to do the work of it. So what I mean by that is you come with the agenda, you come with as much of it filled out as you can, and then the two of you fill out the rest of it together. Everybody gets a copy and you go on your merry way. Now you can do this all online if you want as well. It doesn't have to be a paper copy. If you have a system in place that you can do that, go for it. But what we want initially is for you as the manager, think about skills transfer, coaching. We want to teach them what this agenda is for, how to use it, how to fill it out. That's your job as the manager initially, okay? Now, over time, what really we want to get to is that the employees own not just coming to the appointment, but they own participating too in the coaching. And what that means is they complete the agenda in advance. They plug in their own KPI. They plug in their own progress on their goals. They plug in their own achievement towards action items. So that's all designed ahead of time for them to be an active participant in owning their own performance. The expression I've used in the past is that if employees are just coming to their coaching session with you with no paper, no pen, nothing, then that really is an indicator for you that that session to them is just you talking and they just have to nod their head. And that's not good. That's not what we want. Those coaching sessions should be meaningful and deep dives into what they can do to improve. And so if an employee, after I've done this development and I've set up the time and I've taught them how to use the agenda, if an employee starts to come to those meetings still unprepared, now I have to question their ownership of their own performance. It's an essential part of performance is to accept ownership for your own results. So we set up the agenda, we introduce it to everyone, we tell them why it's going to be so powerful for all of us. Then we begin the process. We as managers do the agenda and fill it out so that we can teach them how best to do that. And then eventually we transition that to them and we invite them to start completing that process before they meet with you. And they come to the meeting prepared to talk to you about the questions they have and then to report back some of the progress they've made as it's outlined on the agenda. If you end up with an employee, which happens, who doesn't do that, then we have to evaluate that as performance. So if we take it to coaching algebra, the result is no coaching agenda, no completion of the coaching agenda, or even missing coaching appointments. This is our result. Now we have to ask ourselves, is this a skill set issue or a mindset issue? Now, if we've done all the legwork on helping them learn how to do the agenda and fill it out, then it's likely it's mindset. And I'll tell you what, 90% of the time it probably is. So then we have to kind of ask them, what's going on? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not accepting accountability for your own performance? And it becomes then a performance issue. It may be that it's a developmental issue, but it is still about developing them here and their thinking about coaching and recalibrating the expectation you have about what they should or shouldn't be doing as it relates to coaching. Coaching is a dynamic experience. It's a mutual exercise. It isn't just me talking as the manager. It is me asking questions of my employee to help them come to their own solutions, right? And if they don't come prepared to those meetings, it's pretty hard to do that. So the coaching practice is essential. And then eventually, once you've implemented it, we have to recognize that we all have ownership for the success of the practice. And you have to hold yourself accountable to showing up, being consistent, establishing a clear agenda, making information available to employees as it relates to KPI and so forth. And then we have to invite them to be responsible for reporting their own performance, coming prepared with questions, coming prepared with things that they need to talk to you about or concerns they have, so that it is a dynamic dialogue. It's not just you talking for 45 minutes or what have you. So in summary, a few things. The duration of a one-on-one meeting is up to you. It can be 20 minutes, it could be an hour. I think if you get past an hour, it can lose its effectiveness, but that's just been my experience. It's best to keep things under an hour just because we're such busy professionals. We want to help people know why we're implementing what we're implementing. So make sure that when you roll this out, you give them the reason. It's not just like, hey, we're going to do this, because what happens is they'll fill in the blank and they'll start to think that maybe you're doing it because you don't trust them. Or it's another way for you to catch them doing something wrong. So we really want to make sure we set this up properly. You might even invite employees to help you define the things that are in that agenda. What do they want to be talking about each week, right? And then ultimately, that agenda becomes their responsibility. So initially, you own it, you help them go through it and fill it out. But the long term here is that they come prepared to their one-on-one with that agenda completed in advance.